Hi, everybody. Welcome to Queers and Soaps. I'm Tommy, and tonight I am joined by Dana.
Hi. Mm.
I'm very excited because Dana has graciously offered to come on this journey with me to relive one of my childhood favorite shows ever, Dawson's Creek.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Funny enough,
Oh,
last week was its 26th anniversary, so that's why it kind of came back into my consciousness.
yeah, you know what? When we were talking about it initially, I was thinking this was like earlier in the 90s than it was. And then when I looked up when it aired, I was like, no, actually, this is exactly the type of time where I would be in like my preteen area, like
Mhm.
Y2K,
Yeah.
Y2K. And I was like, why didn't I watch this? This is weird. It's probably because I was too rebellious. So, like, this is way too cool, too mainstream,
um, I was
stuff.
12. I was 12,
Oh,
about to be 13. Yeah.
yeah, something like
Um,
that, yeah. I graduated in 2004, so I was just getting into high school when this was airing-ish.
okay. Wait, when was your
Two
what grade for high school for you?
2004 I graduated, so I got into
Oh,
high school at 2000. So, like,
oh,
like,
okay.
right in the middle, yeah, of where the show runs, so, like, I was, I guess, like you said, like, 12, 13, 14, you know?
I was 2003, so I was a year above you.
Very good.
But enough about us. I will roll the credits and we will get into the pilot of Dawson's Creek.
Yeah.
So the pilot, I don't know the exact date, but it started in January of 1998. Um, we open with Joey and Dawson, childhood best friends. They're 15 now, and they're
Mhm.
having one of their annual movie nights. Apparently, Joey sleeps over a lot
Yeah.
in the
I
bed.
I was wondering if it was like a weekend type deal, the way they made it sound like you always sleep over, like, all the time.
Yeah, like
And I
that's
was
our
just like,
Saturday night thing.
yeah, like regular weekend chill hang.
And they're about to start high school. For them, 10th grade is when they start, apparently. Um,
Oh,
and Joey kind of has, as they joke, a thing for Dawson.
she's like plays it off a little. She's like trying to make it seem like they're getting older. The relationship's gonna change. It's no big, it's just getting older. It has nothing to do with how he feels or how he feels. She's like trying to push it actually onto him. Like, you're the one that's gonna feel some type of way about me in bed.
Yeah,
Like, don't come at me with that. I'm nothing over here or whatever.
right. She's like, I have breasts and you have genitalia. And he's like, I've always had genitalia. She's like, yeah, but there's more of it now.
I will say, like, I thought initially during this whole conversation, I was like, what 15-year-olds talk like this? I don't know them. Who are these people? Like, I never met someone so articulate and like
Right,
emotionally aware at 15.
right.
That's crazy. It's
So
like crazy to think about it.
90210 always takes credit for being like the first American teen drama that like paved the way for all these other teen dramas.
Yeah.
But Dawson's Creek was the first to have, well, first of all, have teenagers talk like they're not teenagers, but to not
Yeah.
like treat their audience like they were dumb. Like they had them speak a certain way because they trusted that their
Right.
audience would be smart enough to be able to follow along.
Oh my gosh. Awesome. That's
And
cool then. Because I was like,
in my
yeah.
opinion, I feel like they kind of paved the way for Gilmore Girls because they were kind of that quick, witty, like back and forth.
Yeah, that's true too. That's another one that, like, I heard about and just didn't get into. Don't know why, but I
Oh my God,
want to
it's so
now.
good. It's so good. Any continuing drama is considered a soap opera. I don't really consider that a soap opera, but it's good.
Yeah.
um, so Dawson play wrestles with her, and he's like, "We're friends. Like nothing's gonna change between us, no matter how much
Yeah.
body hair we acquire." And
Right.
he's like, "Let's just go to bed." So
I'm like, "Yeah, okay, okay, Dawson, sure. Whatever you say, bro. Whatever you say."
Greg was sitting next to me, my boyfriend, while I was watching this, and he's never seen it either. But because they were like talking very sexually, he's like, "Why are they talking about sex so much?"
But they're so aware. Like, the way that she came at him and said, like, "Listen, I'm acknowledging we're gonna get older. Things are gonna change. Things were already changing for her. That's why she was speaking to it because she already has feelings.
Yeah.
And he's just like, that can never happen to us. We're above that. We're better than that. Even though, like, it just shows his naivete in a way. Like, he just doesn't understand. And of course, and don't take longer to get to their mature level than women do. But
Yeah.
it's like a perfect metaphor for that right there in that little bit of dialogue. Perfect.
So they get into bed, he gets under the covers, and they're kinda both, like, fidgety, like, because now they've had this uncomfortable conversation that they said they're gonna forget about.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Why'd you have to
Yeah.
bring it up anyway?"
It's like he
And,
like looks over, thinking about it. Like, yeah, exactly. Like her point. Exactly.
so then we go into the opening credits, which is the original theme song, Paula Cole, "I Don't Wanna Wait."
It's been on
So
TikTok.
fun fact, so this is one of the songs that was changed for DVD and streaming.
Mm,
Apparently the in Canada, they had a different theme song, and that's the theme song that is used on the DVDs.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so that song and this show are like this. Like you don't think about Dawson's Creek without thinking about this song,
Yeah.
and vice versa. Like first thing that comes to my mind. So if I went to put this, 'cause it's on Hulu too here. So like when you sent me the streamers, I was like, okay, I want to see it in its purest form. Don't get me wrong. But
Mhm.
I was like, if I went on Hulu and I did not hear that song, I'm like, what am I watching? I don't even know
Yeah.
what I'm watching. This is not Dawson's Creek.
I had read a few years ago that when it went back to Netflix, they restored the original theme song, but I don't think they restored the original music in the episodes.
Oh,
So, I'm like,
ugh,
forget it.
next. Oh my gosh. Can't.
So Dawson
Crazy.
is an aspiring filmmaker, and he's making a horror movie with Joey as his lead, and his friend
Mhm.
Pacey is also in it playing some kind of monster, like,
Coming
swamp
out of the
thing.
lake. Oh
Um,
gosh.
so I always laugh at this because as Joey's getting out of the water when Pacey, like, pulls her in, she's always like, "You did it again, you grabbed my ass." And he's like, "You even have one."
Like as the first introduction to Pacey, it's like perfect. Now that like even after the episode, I'm just like, so this is how this guy rolls apparently. Like it's all just messy. Just
Yeah.
messy, messy, messy. Okay.
So as they're all, like, trying to get their shit together, a new girl in town pulls up in a cab, Jen.
From
Um,
New York.
she, is gonna be staying with her grandmother, which is directly next door to Dawson.
Mhm.
And Joey is immediately, like, bitchy, like, possessive of Dawson because she sees that he's very hyper interested in her.
Side eyeing this girl literally the minute she stepped foot out of the taxi. Joey was like, "Excuse me? Say what? Who's this? Who? Who? Who is she? I've never heard of her. What? Huh? No, not me. I don't know this woman."
Apparently, they met when they were younger,
Yeah.
um, and he's like, "Oh, you look different," and Joey just kinda mumbles puberty, "Hi, I'm Joey, we've never met."
There there's so many one-liners. Joey's just like she peppers her with it all throughout the whole episode. Oh gosh. I'm just like, damn girl, you just make me and so I keep thinking, I was like, again, she's 15. So it's like, of course, she would not make it very subtle, the
Yeah,
shade.
right.
Full on night, this full night over poor Jen. She's trying to live her
Um, so apparently Jen's grandfather's aorta am I saying that right? Aorta
aorta,
collapsed.
aorta.
So she's coming to stay with her grandmother to help her out.
Yeah.
Um, but this is a drama, so we should probably suspect
Mm.
that there are other ulterior reasons why she's there.
Yeah. I believe her grandmother does say at one point, she's like, "Know what happened in New York?
Mhm.
Dot, 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 dot."
Dot,
And
dot,
it's like,
dot.
"What happened in New York?" Well, oh my god, like, see, that's why I was like, I'm gonna have real problem like, this show is gonna be like, I'm gonna feel obsession creeping in, like, all stuff like, "Look at me, I'm in trouble."
So Dawson and, Pacey work at a video store, RIP Blockbuster, because video stores don't exist anymore.
Giving, like, Clerks vibes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Um, and this very attractive older woman walks in, and Pacey is just, like, beside himself, like, drooling over this woman.
Like, could not keep his jaw off the ground and, basically drooling, like, just and I kept like, "Inappropriate, this is so inappropriate.
Right.
Please don't do
Mm,
that."
I'll talk about that later when we get more into that.
We'll
So
get there,
I don't know if you noticed the "I Know What You Did Last Summer" posters kinda sprinkled throughout the show?
I did, and I was like, "Oh my god, it's that time frame." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Ah," I'm like, "This is literally like the all dripping in Y2K." That's all I could say. Like, it was the fashion, the baggy shirt, it was insane. I was like living like in or in a tech like nostalgia. It was just took me right.
So, Kevin Williamson, the creator of the show, who also created Scream and I Know What You Did Last Summer, is why you'll see a lot of I Know What You Did Last Summer throughout the first season.
Yeah, okay, yeah, man.
Yeah,
I'm telling you, that's really the prime, my
yeah,
prime teenage years.
right. Um, so Pacey, this woman is looking for basically romance movies that have to do with older women seducing younger men. So she wants The
Yeah.
Graduate. And Pacey's just
I
got like
can't
a boner over this.
it's incredibly thinly veiled, and I just kept thinking, I'm like, "You are an adult woman." And I'm sorry, but, like, Joshua Jackson at this time is not very mature looking.
Oh,
He looks like the youngest of all of them. I mean, like, nothing against that. I know, like, they're in their 20s. They have to be because you know what I mean? If they were actually 15, we would think they were children, but he's a
I
baby.
I think him, Katie Holmes, and Michelle Williams were 17, 18,
Oh, really? Okay.
and James Van Der Beek may have been 20, 21.
Oh, okay. Because I thought James Van Der Beek looked a little bit older than what 15 would be,
Right.
you know? Because they don't have the fat on their cheeks yet, you know, they're still, like, growing up at that time frame, so
Right.
it's like, oh, but I see that with Katie Holmes, she definitely looked very young, and Michelle
Um,
Williams.
Joshua
Yeah.
Jackson definitely fills out as the series goes on. He looks more
Yeah,
masculine and
grows
less
up.
boyish.
Yeah.
Um,
But in this it makes it worse because he's literally the youngest looking out of the
right.
group so far. You're like, "Predator."
And he's the most, like, yeah, sexually hyper.
Yeah, that too. It's just like, "Geez, dude." I think I said, like, "Do something about this dude," and then, like, immediately after, he's like, "I'm a virgin." I'm like, "Makes so much sense. Okay, now I understand." It's like, literally chomping at the bit to literally have sex with whatever
Right.
at any time.
Yes. Um, him and Dawson at one point walk in and find Dawson's parents having sex on the coffee table.
Yeah.
And, I think they heard the mom call the father Mr. Manmeat, so he, like, jokes around with Dawson, "Should I call you Mr. Manmeat Jr.?"
I didn't realize how, like, zingery the show was gonna be. I was expecting, like, high drama, like, the whole time. It's
Uh,
pretty light for the
yeah,
most part, like, it's literally like, exactly kinda how you would imagine, like, a teenage life would be if they hooked in on that. It's
yeah.
like, "Geez, oh, I need" like, "Oh god, come on, you're in the living room."
So, Dawson sees Jen sitting on the dock, and he invites her up to his bedroom, um,
Mhm.
for pure reasons, because Dawson's an idiot, he's not sexual at all, to show her, like, his movie collection and, like, his posters and everything.
Like, "Look, can I show you my stuff?" And she's
Yeah.
like, "Sure," whatever.
And
Oh my
just as she's
god.
in the room, Joey's coming up the ladder that she uses to climb up into Dawson's bedroom.
He's like
And
a golden retriever.
and, Jen's grandmother calls her for her, and as she, like, sticks her head out, Joey, like, blends with the ladder
Yeah,
because she doesn't wanna be seen. And
yeah.
when Jen leaves, Joey crawls through her window, and
Mhm.
Dawson is watching the news. His mom's a news anchor, and he's like, "I think my mom's having an affair with her co-anchor." He's like, "It's her bees. Back to you, Bob." And he just keeps rewinding.
Oh, see, to me, it's like, why would you want to see that? You know what I mean? Like, I was just thinking, like, oh, you're really looking into this a little too deeply, but you know, okay, whatever, dude. And of course, Joey's sulking behind him.
Right.
Like, why would you do
And she
this?
basically tells him that he has a perfect life and that he's just like looking for conflict for his next script.
Yeah, yeah. Well, absolutely true. Like, I agree wholeheartedly with Joey in this situation.
um, so the next day is the first day of school. And were you rocking out to Chumbawamba like I was?
I mean, sure. I that was it was like, it was a bop at the time.
It was.
It was it was a bop. I'm not gonna lie. It was. I enjoyed my time with it.
Every
Yeah,
time it would restart again, I was like singing along with it.
no, I've had a lot of moments throughout this episode going like, "Oh my god, I forgot about this song. It's a great song." Like, why did I know this song? Oh, man.
See, it makes a difference, like hearing the
It
actual
does.
music.
I wanna watch it as purely as possible. Like, if I could go back in time and watch it on TV with the commercials, that'd be pretty cool too.
um, so Jen walks into a classroom and Joey sees her and she kind of like tries to like hide in her seat. And Jen's like, "Oh, I was hoping we'd have a class together." And Joey's like, "Oh, well, here we are."
Oh my god, damn, Joey, give Jen a chance. Like, she's not doing anything. Like, girls for girls. Come on, man. Like, this is not a good look on you. This is
Right.
not a good look. I don't like this for you, man. It's not, but then I'm like, they're 15, Dana. Think about it. When you were 15, you were not like making right decisions. You were doing shit like this. Like
Yeah.
no, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah.
So Pacey, during one of the Chumbawamba like interludes, Pacey's like balancing a book on his head, and the lady from the bookstore walks in, and it's his English teacher, Miss Jacobs.
Oh my god, even worse. The situation's worse now. It's worse now.
Because he knows her name from the video store, so he's like, "Tamara," and she's like, "How about during school hours you just call me Miss Jacobs?"
Yeah, this woman is playing with fire. I don't know what's wrong with her. There's
Right.
something wrong, and I'm trying to think, like, also is, like, at this time frame when they decided to write this storyline, was this around the same time when there's crazy stories about female teachers, like, getting with students? There was, like, a string of teachers at
There
the time.
was, yeah.
Weird. Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, is this like a topical thing? Are they doing a topical plot point?" But it's just made me so icky. I hated every interaction the two of them had. It was just like, "Don't do it! Stop!
Well,
Stop it!"
I didn't see back then, I didn't think it was icky. I guess I didn't really think too
Oh,
hard about it. Like, I didn't really, like, view
oh,
view it as, like, statutory rape, basically. Like
oh, yeah, that's what I mean. I was just kind of thinking, like, of course, it's like hard. Like, there's the societal thing about men and women, and like how it's okay when it's an older woman with a younger guy because she's gonna teach him the right, whatever.
there was
And it's
one
creepy when it's reversed. Ugh.
well, there was one famous one, I don't remember their names, but it was a
Yeah,
teacher
she
and a
got
kid,
pregnant or
and she went to
something.
jail, but she, like, had his babies, and they're, like, still together.
Oh my god, yeah. So it's kinda like
So,
that's what I was thinking about because the timing of, like, the episode and
yeah.
what time it was aired and stuff, so
This is one of the first times I remember seeing that on a TV show, and I feel like
mm,
it was topical at the time, but then going forward, pretty much every teen drama did a similar storyline.
yeah, yeah. Because Dawson Creek paved the way. It
Right.
was, like, one of the ones, like, that was, like, the OG one, like you were saying, like 90210. It was basically what was it? Did crawl so others could walk kinda thing.
Yeah. Like, even as, like well, it's not really new anymore, but Pretty Little Liars had one of their main
Right,
characters
Gossip
dating a
Girl.
teacher, and I
Yeah,
rooted for them. It
Gossip
wasn't right, but I rooted for them.
Yeah, yeah, like, it's just it's not okay. It's not okay. No matter how much you make it okay. Believe me, I've seen my fair share of like anime that do similarly type. It always makes me feel a little every time, no matter what it is. Because it's just like
Yeah,
the power dynamic is the problem. Is that she's an authority figure over him. It creates an imbalance. So I'm just like, ugh, you know.
right.
But hey, man, I'm here for the ride. This is fiction. So let's
Yeah.
go.
So Dawson gets a little jealous when he sees Jen talking to a football player,
Yes.
and Pacey tells him that he should get in there and be more like um aggressive. And he
Mhm.
admits that he reads Cosmo, and he's like, "Why do you read Cosmo?" He's like, "I have 3 menstrually diverse sisters. Cosmo is my savior."
Yeah, we're getting a real insight into Pacey. Like, just Pacey's life is very complex,
Right.
is all I can say.
Um,
Oh,
so Dawson goes over there, and he invites Jen to go to the movies as, like, a group hang, but to make
yeah.
it a group hang, he needs to, like, get Joey to, like, commit to
Uh,
going. And
Joey
she
doesn't
does it because you do things for the ones you love.
like, no, she basically said she'd rather die in a plane crash or something like that,
Right,
where she's like, "No, no, thank you. Don't no, I don't wanna," 'cause she's already feeling some type of way. It's like the whole lead up to this is just her being like, "Why?" One thing after another.
right. Oh, and just to rewind a little bit, that morning before school, we had a little scene with Jen and her grandmother, um,
Yeah.
where we kinda find out Jen doesn't really do religion, and her grandmother's very religious.
Yeah, she's an
Um,
atheist, she says.
and she asks about, like, the relationship between Joey and Dawson, and she says, "That girl's been climbing in the window for 10 years." She's like, "Neither go to church. I believe they're what you call the wrong element."
Yeah, I mean, and we also kinda, like, find out a little bit about, Joey's background, like, what who
Mhm.
she's living with her sister and her
Right,
boyfriend, and she's pregnant, and
right.
her her sister's boyfriend happens to be black, and that's not okay with the grandma, apparently. Yeah, the
Right.
grandma's pretty strict. Got a lot
Um
of, weird thoughts and beliefs.
Yeah, so after the scene with Joey and Jen where Joey tried to, like, hide, after class,
Yeah,
she asks, like, "Why does my grandmother rag on you?" And that's where she says she's like, "Pick a topic." She's like, "There's my unwed pregnant sister and her black boyfriend. Um, her father went to prison for trying to sell a lot of marijuana."
yeah, yeah,
And I'm
yeah.
like, "But it's legal now." I'm like, "His record should be stricken."
Right, well, he'd be out and his record expunged by now, I
Right.
hope. Mm,
Um,
yeah,
and we find out that her mom died from cancer. 'Cause she's like, "Oh, it was this
that's
cancer thing, it got her," and that's the most she wants to, like, divulge about that.
yeah,
Um, so Pacey's like says to Dawson, "So me, you, we are stalking a faculty member tonight at the movies."
basically, oh my god, it's so cringe, like, the whole interaction was just like, "Oh god." Again, keep thinking, they're 15. They're
Right,
15, they would do this dumb stuff.
right.
Dumb 15-year-olds do this stuff. They stalk their teachers because they have a weird, dumb crush on them and embarrass themselves at a movie theater. Oh my god.
So we had, like, a sisterly interaction. I felt it felt very real, like, she's like
Yeah,
she's like, "If you're gonna borrow my clothes," her older sister's like, "If you're gonna borrow my clothes, fine." She's like, "Just don't, like, leave them under your bed." And she's
yeah.
like, "Got it." And Joey's like, "Well, stay out of my room." "Got it."
Yeah, well, at first I didn't understand the relationship until, like, I, like, explained it, and I was
Uh,
just like, "Oh, okay, now I understand why they were a little like, bit, bit," because I was like, "Oh," like, I couldn't tell, like, if it was her mom at the time, because I don't think they explained it really just yet,
okay.
and it really put everything into focus, like, right then, I was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." My sister would have said that to me, for sure. Would have said to her.
So then
And
later
I love
go
lipstick
ahead,
scene,
sorry.
that was really yeah. I was just thinking about the lipstick scene, it was really, really cute to
Oh, that's
see
what I was gonna
Pacey
go
go.
say next. So later, as she's, like, rushing out the door, she, like, stops her, puts the lipstick on, and they kinda have, like, a sweet, like, smile
It
moment,
was
and I love the song that's playing because that actually comes back later on in the series when she graduates, so
Yeah, it was like one of the only times it felt like Joey is truly happy or felt good at that moment because like the whole episode felt like she was just getting blown, like getting a blow one after the other. Like just couldn't handle like what was the relationship with Dawson. Now they got a new girl in the mix. You
Right.
know what I mean? And it was nice to see her like smile a little bit, you know?
Yeah. So as they're making their way, the group is making their way to the movie theater. Um, Jen comments on liking her lipstick, and she's like, "Oh, what color is that?" And Joey's like, "Oh, wicked red." She's like, "I love your hair color. What number is that?" Like trying to be like, "You're a bottle blonde." I was like, "Oh, she's
Oh my
so sharp."
god! Oh, the shade. I can't. That's what I'm saying. I kept thinking, like, girl, look, green is not your color. This is not the way.
But
Leave
you know
this
what?
poor
I will
girl alone.
admit, I was a little bit petty
Woo.
like that in my younger years, and I felt that. Like, I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
I." Every time I don't think
absolutely.
that, it's still in me. It kicks up every once in a while.
No, yeah, well, that's the whole thing. Like she's on her on full of hormones. So like if you just imagine just chock full of those little puberty hormones, just
Right.
like ready to die, kill people at any moment. And like you're really just you don't even have your full brain going on. So like I totally get why she's doing it again, like 15, totally
Yeah.
get. It's
That's
just
I always say I'm too
thinking like
old and tired to act like that now.
I just keep thinking like it's like watching yourself in the past and you're like, don't do that. Oh God, don't do that. They're like,
But I know why you
and
did that.
have nightmares about the exact thing when you're 30 in bed, just laying there thinking about that embarrassing moment where you said that horrific thing to that perfectly innocent person. I don't do that. Don't do that.
So then, Joey just blurts out, "So Jen, you a virgin?" She's like, "'Cause Dawson's a virgin, and 2 virgins make for a really sloppy first time, don't you think?"
I swear I had so many moments where I was just like, oh my God, what? Who does that? But
And
again,
Dawson's like,
she's
"They're gonna have
just
to drag the creek to find your body."
nice. Jen, are you alive? Are you alive? Like, that's all I kept thinking. Like, damn, this girl, and she's from New York too, which is kind of like, and the fact that she like was keeping it together, I'm like, good for you. I mean, like, in some places that would be literally fighting, like
Yeah.
girls be fighting, just cutting each other up, dead. Right.
There were little tiny, like, crumbs of Jen
Yeah,
trying to, like, keep it together. Like, at school,
yeah,
she said to Dawson, "I need a cigarette right now."
yeah,
And
yeah,
then,
yeah,
what did she say? Oh, to her grandmother, when her grandmother's like, "Oh, if you wanna go to the movies, go to the movies, just make sure you come to church with me on Sunday," and she's like, "I'm firm in my beliefs," and she's like, "I'm trying
yeah,
really hard to keep my rebellious nature in check right now."
yeah, yeah. Like I said, so mature. Like all of them feel like crazy mature for their age, and all like so self-aware. Like she was
Right,
just like, "I'm an atheist. I'm not going to church. You gotta let it go."
right.
And I love the compromise she comes up with.
So, I call
Compromise for
foul
what?
on this compromise because the compromise is, "I'll go to church if you say penis," and the the grandmother's, like, all shocked, like, clutching her pearls, like, "You stop that talk." But I don't think they mention it in the pilot, but her grandmother is a retired nurse, so the word penis shouldn't bother her.
It shouldn't. It shouldn't, but she did kinda give her, like, a look like, "What do you mean?" And, and Jen was like, "Listen, it's clinical. It's
And technical.
correct. It's correct. It's a word. It's not a curse. It's not a euphemism. It's nothing. It's literally just penis." And it's just she just still, like, stared at her like, "How can you say those words in my presence?" And I was like, "Go, Jen. Yes." I really like Jen. I think Jen's a great character so far.
Um,
Coming forward. Just sense.
so they take their seats and Pacey sees Mrs. Jacobs, and he goes to sit with her. She's alone. And she seems a little
Mm.
freaked out, and when he says, "Oh, my friend's over there," and she's she was hard to read because she was flirting with him, but in this
Oh, for
moment, she
sure.
kinda freaked out, and when he said he was there with his friends, she
Right.
was like, "Oh, good, like, go to your friends. Like,
Right. Well, I mean, she was like, "You stalking me?" That's what I've, read it as, is like, "Did you follow me here?"
right.
And also probably like, "Shit, I did flirt with this kid quite a bit, like an idiot." And now it's like,
There's
bad
repercussions.
situation. Like, I kinda had like a flash of that over her face, like, for a half a second.
Right.
Probably a mix of both things, like, "Oh, this child is now stalking me because I flirted with him.
So
Damn it."
the lights go out and the movie starts, and there's kind of this,
Mhm.
like, push and pull of, is Dawson gonna hold Jen's hand? And they're both kinda, like, aware that that's happening, but they're trying to play it cool, and Joey's, like, staring at the hands like, "It better not, it better not."
Another one of those moments. I just went like the I swear I squealed like crazy during these days, like, "This is so secondhand embarrassing." Like, I just can't, like, Joey, leave the movie theater. Like, don't say anything, just walk away.
So
It's
Joey
like a horror movie.
Dawson finally goes for it, and they, like, hold hands, and Joey's immediately like, "So Jen, are you a size queen?" Like, "What?" And Jen's like,
Oh
"Well, I
my
don't know." She's like, "Being a virgin, I guess I never really thought about it that much. How about you, Joey?" She's like, "I don't know."
god. I'm saying about Jen though. You really got to give it to Jen because she did not even it where there was like a half a second's hesitation before she responded. She was ready to meet Joey at any time. I loved it. I was like she was ready to be her right at the eyes. She's like, "You're gonna come for me, say dumb shit like this. I would be happy to entertain you." Because obviously you got she like clocked Joey, I feel like, the minute she met her. Like,
Yeah,
oh, because she asked her too. She like asked her, "Are you and Dawson together?" And she's like,
yeah,
"No, we're friends." And it's kinda like,
yeah.
okay, girl, whatever."
And I feel like that was kinda like Jen's way of, like, respecting girl code, like, if that's your boyfriend, I'm not
Yeah,
gonna yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like, Joey is obviously just not there yet.
Yeah,
Something's happened to Jen in New York. We don't know what it is. That's
right.
probably made her so mature. But yeah,
So, Dawson drags Joey into the lobby, and right before she
yeah.
leaves, she looks at Jen, she's like, "Did you notice the long fingers?"
Oh my god,
Meanwhile,
he never stop.
another teacher, the film teacher actually is meeting, Miss Jacobs for the movies, and she
Yeah.
asks if, Pacey's bothering her, and he's like, "Who's this guy?" And there's, like, a little scuffle and where the popcorn gets thrown, and the person behind him gets up and punches Pacey.
You know what? I said, "Good." Pacey needed to be punched. The kid was out of control. Like, he was literally stepping up to this man like if he already was with this teacher and he's in oh man, it was so disrespectful. I was like, "Yeah, that, Pacey deserved a punch in the eye for that one." He was being crazy all episode.
So in
He
the
needed to be thrown
lobby,
back in reality.
Dawson and, Joey are screaming at each other, and she's basically telling him that he's self-absorbed and he can't see right like, what's right in front of him. Like, "There's a reason I'm acting the way that I'm acting, but I'm not telling you why I'm acting this
Exactly.
way."
Couldn't have been more clear, but dumb golden retriever
Yeah,
named
he's just like,
Dawson
"I don't
can't
get it. I don't like," and she's like, "Of course you don't." She's like, "You
Yep.
just think everything's like a movie or conflict for your next script."
Yep. Yeah, like, there's nothing going on, in the whole thing. Oh my god. Yeah. No, literally, I love Jen and felt for Joey. That was how I experienced this whole episode. I was like, "Damn, this girl, she just can't catch a break." She just literally basically told Dawson straight up, like, "I like you," without
Yeah,
saying, like, "I like you." And
right.
idiots in love, you know what I mean? That's the best part. Idiots in love. Love it.
So, Dawson brings Jen home, and he apologizes for Joey's behavior, and, he kinda wants to go in for a kiss, but then Jen's grandmother puts the light on, and she's like, "I'm just gonna pretend that we kissed." And he
Well,
kinda
I
likes
thought
that. He's just like that puts a
yeah,
smile on his face.
yeah, I thought he kinda, like, leaned in, right, and, like, I don't know if Jen really wanted to. So he kind of, like, went, and then everything happened all at the same time, and I was just, like kinda had a moment where you could see, like, Jen kinda, like, turn away, like, half a
Yeah,
second beforehand,
Yeah.
And it's just like things are just so awkward the whole night, all the way around. And then I think she also like apologizes because she thinks she's the one who really messed it all up.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, yeah. And I was just like, oh, girl. I'm like, that ain't right. Like, Joe put you in like the worst positions ever, and you just held your own through it. So I think you don't need to apologize for nothing. That was just you're in the middle of a mess, girl. You just into a mess. That's all this is.
That's part of what I really love about this show is, like, underneath all of the, like, SAT words and, like, that you need, like, a dictionary and a
Mhm.
thesaurus to understand what they're saying. They have those moments where they just act like teenagers, and you remember
Yeah.
how that feels.
Well, it's a crazy juxtaposition to see them make horrible decisions, like bad decisions only people who are 15 raging with hormones would make. And then when they talk about what happened, they articulate it in such a way that's so profound and so
It's like, how can people that
like
sound so intelligent make such dumb decisions?
exactly, exactly. It's like how are they so poetic and so like emotionally mature and then go
Not.
think teacher's okay, or like, just asking a perfect stranger that you barely know if she's a size queen. Like, come on, like it's just crazy. Oh my god.
So Pacey's walking home and he sees Miss Jacobs, hanging out by the docks. And she
Yep.
apologizes to him and that he may have misunderstood that she was only renting a video, and he calls her out on it. He's like, "That's bullshit." He's like, "You were flirting with
Yeah,
me, you wanted it, you liked that a younger man was interested because you're on the verge of
that's right.
40." And I was like, "Hey, I'm on the verge of 40."
He's
I
not
was like,
wrong.
"Am
Like
I Miss
he
Jacobs?" Like,
would you get with Pacey? Huh?
nah. At this point in my life, I don't
No.
wanna date anybody, like, in their like, under 30. Like
Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, sure. Is it a little fun? I see what she's doing, but at the same time, like, it goes no further than that. What else is there? He's
Right,
not. I mean, maybe okay. So in this world, 15-year-olds are incredibly profound. But like, so maybe in some world where she can like connect with someone like Pacey because he's so together. But he's like the least together out of
right.
everyone too. Like, he's the youngest. He's mature. He's got all the things that just would say no, 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 no. And she's like, no, I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing. And it's like, girl, you okay, whatever then. Have fun.
Um, so it all ends with her basically saying, "You're wrong about one thing, you're not a boy," and she kisses him.
Oh God. I was like, no, that's so bad.
And then she kind of realizes what she did. She has a lucid moment, we'll say, and she's like, "Oh god, like what did I do?"
She like hits the ground. She's like, oh shit. I just don't do. And she made it worse. It's
Right.
worse now. Worse. He's
And
obsessed
Pacey
because again, he's also a virgin, a male virgin. He's gonna like imprint on her like a baby
yeah,
duckling to
yeah,
a like that is what's happening.
I know.
She's in right now.
Right.
Oh, I'm in. I'm so sick of this. I gotta know what happens. But like that is it. I hope she's prepared because that is what she chose. She walked right
So
into it.
he she runs off and he says, "I'll see you in class, Miss Jacobs." Like he kind of just says it to himself.
God,
And
so
Dawson goes home and Joey's like hiding in his closet. And he's like, "What are you doing in there?" She's like hanging with the clothes. Like, okay.
weird.
That's not weird at all.
Yeah.
And he's like, "What happened tonight?" And they kind of just talk in circles. Like they're just saying words, but not actually saying anything. She's just like, "When I saw you holding her hand, it's not like I wanted to be the one holding your hand. I just don't want her holding it." Like basically like trying to like deflect like that she cares about him.
She's avoiding it.
Yeah,
She doesn't want to say it yet. Like she knows what like that's the whole thing like about like you don't really know what you're feeling, but you're feeling it so incredibly intensely. So like a part of me is interpreting that as Joey is in love with Dawson because they've known each other their whole lives. Why wouldn't you fall in love with the boy next door, right? And also
right.
it's James Vanderbeek. He's really attractive. But it's kind of like she doesn't want to say because she doesn't even know that's what it really is because they're so young they don't even know. And then, but Dawson's just like, listen, friend zone, girl. Like, just no thanks.
Right.
Thanks, no thanks. And then again, that's just gonna be another kind of like a traumatic thing for Joey because it's gonna be her first foray into knowledge of
Heartbreak.
any of those feelings at all. Like so.
Um, so she goes to leave, and he's like, "Where are you going? Like, it's Saturday night. You sleep over. Like, you were just on a date with another girl, and then you're gonna have your best girlfriend sleep in your bed. I don't think so."
Dawson is just a dumb, stupid dog. Like he's literally a golden retriever boy if there ever was one. He must have been how it started. They must have figured it out, looked at his hair, the way his hair was. It looked like a golden retriever. That's the type of guy. Oh my god,
So
idiot.
this is like a full circle scene back to like the beginning of the episode because she's like,
Yeah.
"We're changing. We can't do this anymore." And he's like, "Nothing's gonna change. I could tell you anything." And she's like, "Oh yeah? How often do you walk your dog?" Now I have a little behind the scenes info on
Okay,
it.
tell
They were not allowed to use the word masturbation. Out of all the words they
me.
used, they were not allowed to use masturbation. So they had to come up
Okay.
with a phrase for masturbation, and it was walk your dog.
It's it's whatever. It took me a second. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, what the hell? What did you
And
mean?
again,
And then I
Greg's
was like,
like, he's like, "What?
oh,
Why?"
yeah, yeah. It really went. It flew. It like went over my head, stopped for a minute, and then came
Came
back
back.
around. And I was like, walk your dog. Okay, okay.
Well, because what
Yeah,
she says
yeah,
after kind of like leads in to make sense of it, because she's
yeah,
like, how many times did I to who or to
yeah,
what?
yeah.
So it's like,
Exactly.
oh,
That's when
wow.
yeah, that's when the light bulb came on. I was like, and she made a good point. I mean, at the time, she made a perfectly great point. Like, if you're not willing to tell me about this, then how are we really can talk about anything? Like, honestly.
So he kind of like buckles and he's like, he doesn't say anything. And I found it funny that this was the thing that makes her face kind of crumple. Like, see, we can't talk about
Yeah,
anything. And she like leaves and runs off crying. And
yeah.
she gets in her rowboat as I'll stand by you, please.
Yes, I know, right? Literally the whole episode was shit on Joey. The whole episode.
And Dawson comes to the window and he calls her back or to look up, and he says usually in the morning to Katie Couric, and it takes her like a second to like process what he's saying, and she's like, "Oh my god," and she like laughs, and they're good.
See, that's oh, see these writers, they know what they're doing. They're toying with my emotions. See, because I always love OTP, okay? Like, if I don't know if this is the actual OTP of the show because I haven't seen the show at all, so it's complete virgin watching for me. So I'm completely
Mhm.
unaware. So don't spoil it for me. But if they
Do
are
not
OTP,
Google anything.
I promise I'm not gonna Google anything. Um, this is OTP, one true pairing for this show. They're playing with my emotions here because I thought, oh, the door is closed. Dawson is not into Joey. It's unrequited love on Joey's part. So I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, poor Joey. Poor Joey. But this little interaction makes me think otherwise. And I'm like, don't play with me. Because it made me feel like he does. He wants to be open with her enough to, like, I
Yeah.
mean, isn't that kind of a hint in a way? I don't know. We'll find out.
She planted the seed, and now he's thinking about it, and it's growing.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, I'm wondering if this is gonna turn into a will they? Again, don't spoil for me, but like it's kind of like if they're like, will they get together? Do they almost make it? And then the timing's not just right or whatever. I love this story, so I'm very excited. But yes,
So Joey hears somebody laughing, and she looks over, and she sees Dawson's mom kissing her co-anchor.
that's right. Oh my God, Dawson was right.
And
Ah,
she looked back up at the window to see if Dawson also saw it, but he's already gone.
ah,
And that's how the
he's
pilot
a
ended, with her basically just floating away on her rowboat down the creek.
That's crazier as a pilot that they had the balls to be like, no, we're gonna end it on a question because we're coming, like we're
Like,
coming back. This pilot is going to series. Oh yeah, and it's
yeah.
like, well, obviously, we definitely did, but what was Dawson seeing? Because I really that little rewatch. I'm like, she's just saying the word "Bob." Like, but
There was an
is
alternate
this a
screenshot that I don't know if it's on the DVDs or it's just, like, came out years later on the internet where he did see it.
yeah? Oh wow.
So I don't know,
Okay.
like, where the show would've went had they gone that route.
Oh, that's what I mean. Like, so like it's kind of one of those things where it's like what like ugh, that's the choices of the creators and the showrunner and the writers and all that stuff. It's just making good choices to kind of like really entice the people who are gonna give a thumbs up on something. So because that's what they did. I mean, like they really ended it on kind of like there's a chance with these very cute couple, okay?
Mhm.
And then also, how is Joey going to now handle the situation of her knowing for sure that his mom is that Dawson's life isn't exactly as perfect as everyone thinks it is,
Yeah.
especially now, you know?
And and
So
now
it's
as his best friend, how does she tell him this?
right. Like, that's something she should say because like a lot that's the same situation a lot of people find themselves in. Like, do I insert myself in a situation that I really shouldn't because
Mhm.
shoot messenger type scenario? And so there's so much potential for drama that I totally get why this got picked up like immediately.
Well, so also, like, the WB was still a new network. They didn't have 5 nights a week
Yeah.
programming at this point. I think they only had 2 or
Okay.
3, and I was a huge
Okay.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer fan, and I remember there was a two-parter for Buffy because they were launching a new night. So Buffy was moving to
Yeah.
Tuesdays, and Dawson's Creek premiered right after it.
Wow.
So
Okay. So if this wrote
I
up
think they were just gonna show
Buffy.
Dawson's Creek whether it was a hit or not because they were like, "We're launching a new
Oh,
night."
well then now that makes a lot more sense because WB was like the place you would go to for like programming that wasn't as family friendly, I guess you would say, as like ABC or CBS or NBC at the time.
Yeah.
Because like those were either like ABC and CBS is where you would see our lovely dynasty and like all of the family matters, the
Yeah,
stuff like that, and this is definitely not that. This is
yeah.
kind of, Fox territory. It was like an answer to Fox too at the same time. Like
I
it was
think
like
the
another
following
channel.
season, they went to, like, 5 nights a week programming because that's when they had Felicity, Charmed, all the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
hits that
again. I'm like,
they had.
wow. Like I watched Buffy like after it had run. Like I got a chance to catch it on DVD at one point. Somebody let me and we just binged through the whole kit and
That's
caboodle. And I think it went in.
one of my top
Yeah,
2 favorite TV shows. I love Buffy.
it's been a very long time, but this is all in that same time frame, late
Yeah.
90s, early 2000s, spaghetti straps abound. I was just gonna say, like, can we just talk about the fashion a
We're not
little bit?
quite at Butterfly Clips yet. I think that might be next season.
Not quite, not quite. But like Katie Holmes was like the perfect like poster child for that time frame. She had like the perfect flat stomach, was able to wear all low rise stuff. Like she was like the very girl next door. And then I love the dress that Michelle Williams wore. Like it was quintessential, like early 2000s, like Delia's with the spaghetti straps, like meats thing on top. It was so like I was just living all of my life through that. I was like, this is exactly what I remember that time frame being like. It's really great.
It's funny
Can't wait till
because
they get
I
to
guess around this time, like the late '90s, was when TV started to kinda change and it was becoming more intelligent. Because
Mhm.
usually back in the day, the pilot of a show was usually considered the worst episode of the show because there's a lot of
Yeah.
exposition and you're trying to get to know the characters and their relationships to each other. And they did that in here, but they did it in a smart way where they kept it interesting with twists.
Absolutely. Like I said, I'm dying to know. I'm not kidding. Like I don't know what happened. It was like, absolute I felt like I lost myself too. It feels, like, weirdly timeless, even though that the fashion is definitely, like, it gives you the vibe of what time it was, but, like,
Yeah,
I felt like I really did kind of fall into it, just like, with a lot of the other soaps, like, they kinda just hook you with the story and everything else just kind of fades away.
yeah,
So it really did that. Her pilot is pretty great.
yeah.
I kept thinking, I'm like, like my preconceived notions of the show was like it's a bunch of very rich white kids get into all kinds of weird shenanigans. Like that's kind of all.
No, that's 90210.
Yeah,
It's Beverly
so
Hills 90210.
right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. So I just thought this was like a Northeast version of that, right?
Right.
So
I
I had
think they
no
were in
idea what I was.
Massachusetts. I'm pretty sure they were in Massachusetts.
It gives a very Northeast like
Well, it was
um
filmed in North Carolina, Wilmington, which is where
oh
I Know What You Did Last Summer was filmed, and
yeah.
also where One Tree Hill. I don't know if you've ever watched One Tree Hill.
Okay, so I was looking at James Vanderbeek's IMDb because I wanted to check this because I was thinking I was like, okay, so I know him. Him, and like I want to say maybe Katie Holmes was probably like the breakout star of the show that actually was able to kind of like branch away and do other things and
Well,
but they all kind of
Michelle Williams is an Oscar winner, Jen. She's
that's
an
true. That's also true. But I forgot about that. Oh my god. So like we all I was checking in to see like everybody what they did because I couldn't remember like what did James Vanderbeek really do outside of Dawson's Creek. And I was like Bar City Blues was another one, but that was kind of around the exact same time. And
Yeah,
I was like oh he was a like a cameo guy. He went and he was like in he had a billing for like 4 episodes of One Tree Hill, and I was like
yeah.
wait a minute, One Tree Hill around the same time as this? And if so, was there a crossover? Because that's
No,
crazy if there was.
it was like 10 years
Oh,
later. But he did
oh,
play like a movie producer, so it kind of like
oh,
was
okay. Because I would love like a blending. Because if you think about it, like, what if like the world of Dawson's Creek, the world of Felicity, and like I don't know, another one at a time, we're all in the same universe, but they were part of like different locations. It's cool to think about it that way, because then
that
they
is
could
pretty
kind of
cool
like,
actually.
what if they had a crossover moment and
Yeah,
then they would meet each other? That would be wild. Somebody get that on a fanfic. I
they
know
should have
that
did that
there's
with
one.
Buffy and Charmed, honestly.
Agreed, agreed,
They were the
agreed.
same
That would have been
network.
a yes. Oh my gosh.
But
Yeah,
all right,
I
well, do
enjoyed
you
the
have anything else to add on this before we wrap it up?
oh, I don't know. Like I said, I'm just ready to see what happens for
Did you
sure.
take pages of notes like you did with Dynasty?
No, no, I did take notes. I did take notes, and they weren't like very extensive because since I've never really seen it and I don't have a lot of experience with the actual characters, like I
Uh-huh.
don't have a lot of like underlying opinions just yet. Wait until the end of the first season. I'm sure I'll probably have all kinds of thoughts
We'll
on
do an end
like
of
the
season
first.
wrap up. Your thoughts?
But if we go back to the first season, I've seen all of this like leading on dialogue that's like led me to believe what they're gonna do later on, right, kind of thing. But most of it was kind of Joey. I wrote like one line was just Joey, 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 Joey.
She probably said
His whole
something that you were like, "Oh my gosh."
it was just stop, stop, stop. I just a lot of secondhand embarrassment, probably because of the nostalgia. Like all the time, it's just how I felt. And but I'm very, very much invested now. So we have to keep
Yay.
going. And be hanging now. You're gonna have to supply me with my drug of choice, which is Dawson. I hope you're happy with yourself.
So happy.
You got me hooked on it. You're my dealer now.
Just enough to get you hooked, not enough to get you high.
That's right. I said, "Well, if you wanna get on the podcast, you're gonna have to pay me now." I'm like,
All right,
"Oh."
well, thank you for joining us for our discussion of the pilot of Dawson's
Absolutely.
Creek. Um,
Yes, thank you.
we will be continuing, obviously, because she's hooked. I'm hooked again. I'm in all my feels for 90s nostalgia.
Absolutely, absolutely.
As always, you can
Let
find
me
us
get my
on all the socials at Queers and Soaps. And until next time, have a great night. Bye.